Hi, I'm Stephen Self-City Tyler Communications, and I've got a long history with the Downtown Tyler Film Festival, and one of our favorite contributors is with us today. Nick, are you
Hi,
there?
how's it going?
It is a pleasure to meet you. I mean, we've communicated over the years. You submitted a film a few years ago that was, to us, utterly remarkable. You took a story over a period of 5 days. You had character development. You had a plot twist. You did the whole thing in a doorway, basically. You are, by trade, a writer. So, as a writer, where did this idea come from?
For the first film, I think that came from banging my head on a couple of scripts and just, as you do, just walking out the door and just wanting to make something quick, contained and easy, and just looking and who and what I had around me and thinking what I could do by myself. Because when you're a writer, the temptation is to write a script, put it in a drawer or email it to people and hope someone else is going to make it. And I thought, right, I'm going to pick up the baton myself and do something. So what can I do that kind of narrows down my options and forces me to behave, I guess, most creatively? And I certainly had a doorway. So I thought I could start from there and build something from there. So that was the germ of the idea, I think.
Well, you did really, really well. And just, kind of from our perspective, when we do film festivals, we see a lot of people that young producers and directors, they do their film and they're like trying to be Tarantino or something. And you guys did something that was very, very true to you. Now, when you started this, I understand this was your first film that you did on your own?
That's right, yeah.
Did you just grab a camera and do this, or did you bring some pro help in? What did you do there?
So lots of internet research, finding out what the best and sort of most professional way to do it was, but basically grabbing an SLR, I think a 5D, and filming off that. And I just read lots of articles, especially with comedy, that stressed that getting sound right was key, because if you can't hear what they're saying, it's quite hard to laugh. So getting a friend of mine with a Zoom, a directional mic, and basically, yeah, I think I always cringe when I watch the film because there's the bit where he taps something into the postman's gadget, and that's basically a calculator I found in my parents' attic. So if you look closely at that, the whole movie's ruined. But yeah, just everything was homemade, and I think we filmed it in an afternoon and used my friend's post room to do the little interstitials between each scene. But yeah, it was pick it up and make it happen, basically.
An elegantly simple film, and you were nominated as the Internet Movie Database producer.
Oh, yes.
From something elegantly simple. Now, moving forward now, you have an entry in this year that, of course, as soon as we saw your name, we were like, yes, And then when we saw it, I have to say I'm not part of the judging at all, but when we saw it, it was like, oh my gosh, this looks like $1 million. I understand there's an interesting story behind how you got the amazing look in this film. What is that?
It's an Arri Alexa. I'm not quite sure I actually knew what that was capable of when I picked it up. But we were originally, I gave the guys at a kit hire place a budget, and we were originally going to pick up something far less exciting, and another crew had left it in the warehouse and cancelled their booking. So I think John at Filmscape Media gave us that Arri Alexa, which our cinematographer was extremely excited about. So we struck it lucky with that one.
You did have a pro DP on that, so you had professional grading and all of that. Okay.
Yeah.
This story is another example of superb short film craft. You did the whole thing in one small area. What was the genesis of this story?
I guess, again, it was, I've always been inspired by directors who sort of think of what they can work with first and then build a story out of that. I think Ben Wheatley in Down Terrace is one of my favorite stories of how that movie came about. I'm sure everyone's heard that story, but he started with a house and his editor and his editor's dad, and built an amazing film noir crime thriller out of that. So I always remembered that when I thought about filming my second film, and everything sort of came together. So I knew I wanted to make another film with Ed, who was the actor in Special Delivery. And then I came across Chris. I was doing some boxing as a hobby, and I came across Chris, this, I hope he wouldn't mind me saying, hulking brute of a man in a boxing gym. And he always talked about the boxing gym that he grew up in. And Chris was an actor. So he wasn't just some boxer I took off the street. But yeah, I asked to see the place he'd grown up and trained to box as a kid, and that location that you see in the film is just incredible. So you feel like the place is filled with stories and tales. And I knew that if I could put Ed, who's probably the opposite of a hulking brute, and Chris together and create something sort of touching and funny, there'd be something in it. So I sort of had those kind of three assets in mind, of two humans and a location, and tried to write something that worked for that time. And I knew I wanted it to be 10 or so minutes, and yeah, it came together.
Well, again, you did what we as festival managers love to see. You took a project in a short period of time. You brought in character development. You brought in some comedy. You got almost slapstick a couple of times there. Getting into the ring was classic. And you told a very poignant story in a very succinct time frame. I was sitting in just a minute ago. We did another interview, and you mentioned longer projects, features. You mentioned in some of our emails that you see yourself more as a writer. What would you like to be doing in, say, 5 years?
I think it's finding, because hopefully what you see from those two very short films is a kind of sensibility of wanting to combine, as you say, sometimes very silly humor with something a bit more heartfelt. And I guess it's finding, because a lot of sitcom writing has to be very joke heavy, a lot of drama writing has to be, very tears heavy. And it'll be finding an avenue for that style of writing. So there's some great independent features that have that I think that can cater for that. So I'm developing a feature script and having conversations with people that sort of commission sitcoms, and trying to find a style of or a channel that would want a sitcom that has that kind of blend of humor and pathos, I guess. So what was the timeline? 5 years.
That's just a guess.
Yeah. Yeah, so hopefully maybe another, as I said before, a short that's more, because the hook, I wanted to make something that's very self-contained. We're looking to produce next, I think, a short that is more reflective of a feature world that people could get behind investment-wise. So maybe a feature could be out there, and if it's the right kind of project, a sitcom on the go. Yeah. 5 years. I'm going to write that on my calendar, and if I haven't got it, I'm going to blame you.
Hopefully we'll be talking again in 5 years.
Yeah.
One of the things we here in America, that the cinephiles here in America are kind of lamenting, is that Hollywood is not really looking for new talent anymore, that they've got their formulas, they do the formulas. I'm hearing rumors that they might even just divvy the calendar year up and share it amongst the various studios to crank these formula pieces out. Cinephiles are looking for the niche pieces, and indie producers such as yourself, writers, I should say, such as yourself, can supply these. How are things in Europe? What is the independent film consumption like over there?
God, I don't really know. I know that I mean, I'm so bad with names, but I do seem to be going into the cinema and see. I mean, you never know. I can never remember which ones are genuinely indie and which ones are funded by the big studios. But yeah, as it is over there, the TV, there's more money probably in the TV industry than there is in the movie industry.
Really? Okay.
But then I think there's a comedy that's just come out called Super Bob, which is some friends went to a preview and said was great. Man Up, great British rom-com that I haven't personally seen, but I've heard great things about. So hopefully we're entering a new sort of, I mean, sorry, that's not really talking about Europe, but hopefully we're entering a bit of a golden era for independent Brit comedy, sort of going back to the old Hot Fuzz and Shaun of the Dead and those great independent British films. So I'm crossing my fingers.
British comedy seems to play well in America. I don't know if we get all the jokes, but it seems to play well. Well,
that's why I had a guy falling over. I knew you'd get that.
So in terms of what you're seeing, because you're, as a writer, you're fairly well connected, it looks like, to, I mean, MTV and some of the things you've done. You're fairly well connected with the industry. Just over the top, online distribution, things like that. Are you seeing revenue streams in there?
Well, I think that the things you're referring to, I've done little bits of joke writing in the past and gag writing for shows. In terms of getting longer form stuff commissioned, it's very difficult. So there's money to be made writing sketches and jokes for TV and radio. In terms of getting sitcoms and drama commissions off the ground, it's much tougher.
Mm-hmm. So, as someone who seems to kind of have it, and I know for modesty's sake that's probably difficult for you to acknowledge, but from someone who sees a lot of entries, just trust me on this one, you have it.
Great. I'm going to put that in a plaque in my toilet. I love that. He's got it. He's got it.
As someone who seems to know how to work within the framework and make a successful story with small crew, small cast, I'm assuming a small budget, someone who's looking at this going, I love movies, I want to make movies, what advice would you give?
Well, it's interesting, you say, oh, he's got it, but that was both those very, very short films were a year of showing the script to friends and showing it and showing it. So I think, set yourself parameters. I mean, Tarantino is amazing, but doing that for your short film it gives you too many questions to answer and too many creative choices to make. So for me, set your parameters, think small and in terms of telling a really contained story and, again, speaking personally, having, very few locations, maybe one location, and then just work on that script until, people refuse to look at it anymore. Just hone that script for years and hone, maybe have 2, 3, 4 scripts on the go that you keep showing to people. And then, because that's the beautiful thing about a short film, that there's no deadlines. So just hone that script till it's crafted and polished, and till you meet exactly the right actors that could be in it, or the guy in the corner store who'd be brilliant in it, and just wait till all the pieces fall into place, and then make it happen, and just pick up a camera and get a sound recorder and just make it, because you learn. You don't have to. Your first film doesn't actually have to be your first film. It's just the first film you start sending out to festivals. So just make as many first films as you can, and then when you've got a good one, then because you only get one first film to send out. Yes. So make sure the script's as amazing as possible, and then just make it happen by yourself if no one else wants to shoot it.
Well, as someone who has made a number of bad films, I applaud your work. We'll find out next week what the audience thinks, and we thank you again very much for your time, and we wish you all the best in your future.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be at your festival again. Thank you so much.
Take care. Bye.